I'm licensed in California, so if you're out of state or have properties out of state, some of the things I talk about will not be applicable to you. So what we're going to talk about is wealth preservation and wealth transfer. So wealth preservation is protecting your family from Uncle Sam, lawsuits, and probate. Everybody know what probate is?
License to steal.
License to steal. That's pretty close.
What happens if you don't take care of it?
If you don't take care of stuff before, you're going to be paying me a lot of money to do it, and you really don't need to. Probate fees on a $1 million piece of property in California. Anybody want to guess what the attorney earns?
15%.
No, it's not 15. It varies. $23,000. That's the attorney's fees for statutory work. If you sell a house, you also get paid hourly rate. Now let's change the scenario a little bit. You owe the bank $900,000 on the property. What are the attorney's fees? $23,000. It's on gross, not on net. You want to avoid that like the plague. So that's why you have revocable living trusts and other options that we're going to discuss today. All asset protection is, or wealth preservation, is having peace of mind, knowing you've taken care of it for your family. Nothing more than that. So what's a castle? How many lines of defense are in a castle? Is it one? Is it multiple? So there are multiple barriers to prevent you from getting into the keep, which is where they keep their assets and money, right? That's what asset protection is. It's not one thing alone, it's multiple things put together to make it difficult or impossible to reach. And it's not putting everything, it's a portion of what you own you're preserving and protecting. And you're planning for future liabilities. We get several calls a month from individuals saying, I'm being sued, I want to protect my assets. Too early, too late?
Too late.
Too late. That's exactly right. So you need to be careful. You need to plan in advance. Who's the biggest person out there to take your money away from you?
Is that after the attorney?
After the attorney, yes. The IRS. So again, if you have known creditors, it doesn't mean you can't do estate planning or asset preservation or wealth preservation. It means you need to leave enough assets to cover that judgment or potential judgment. The remaining assets you can change, you can do, you can put it in entities, you can do a multitude of different things. So, what's California known for regarding property? Oops. No, simpler than that. That's true, lawsuits too. Community property, exactly. Does everybody understand what community property is? I think I did something wrong up here. I think I want to do it that way. There we go. There it goes. It's just slow.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, if you think of wealth preservation and wealth transfer, that's not really why you want to do it. You want to have logical reasons why. Is there a legitimate business purpose to do what you're doing? Is it an estate planning tool, like continued gifting to your children year after year after year? And is there a family purpose for doing what you're doing? Preserving wealth for the family, being able to use that wealth to generate a bigger return. You want the asset protection as a result of the other reasons. So you're not doing it for asset preservation, it's just a side benefit from everything else. Does everybody understand that? So it's important to understand that you're doing it for asset protection or wealth preservation, but there are many other reasons why you're doing it. That's what survives lawsuits and people suing you. Wrong way. Okay, I'm totally wrong. There goes show. So again, anybody here not want to leave their stuff to their kids? Most of their kids? Yeah, there's always a few people that have one that's in question, right? Do you want to leave it to your kids? Or do you want to leave it to their spouses? Right? I'm serious. You want to leave it to your children, right? Because you don't want the in-law turning into the what? Outlaw. You want to avoid that. So again, is that legitimate reason to do things? Maybe transferring it into an entity. Giving a portion of the entity to your children. Does that have anything at all to do with wealth preservation? A little bit. But that's not the main reason. So we want to make sure what we're doing it for is a direct reason rather than an indirect. If it's old and cold, it's always better than new and hot anytime you're dealing with litigation. So, do you do a gifting plan if you can afford it? Yes? Okay. Are you doing charitable contributions? Possibly. Are you doing retirement plan contributions? And are you having reoccurring payments for doing services if your kids are old enough to be your property managers? It's a way to get the wealth to the children instead of to yourself. Is there any transfer tax associated with that? Everybody know what I mean by transfer tax? So inheritance tax, gift tax, and generation skipping transfer tax. So if you're paying a child for actually work, is that subject to any of those taxes? No. So again, it's a way to transfer wealth to a future generation. For most people here, their children are probably going to be at a lower income tax bracket. Right? So you're saving from Uncle Sam also, all legitimately. But by doing that, you've taken the assets outside of your estate, or a portion of them, and you don't own them. What does that mean?
Jeopardy.
They're not in jeopardy. They can't be lost because you don't owe them. If you don't own them, the court can't take them away to pay a creditor. I'll let you read these. These are a couple of my favorite quotes. Can you see it in the back? The first one says, income tax has made more liars out of the American people than golf. It's a quote from Will Rogers. I'm proud to be paying taxes in the United States. The only thing is I could be just as proud for half the money. So again, there's a lot of legitimate ways to protect assets and to reduce your taxes. All you have to do is have the knowledge to be able to use them. Here's what asset protection or wealth preservation is not. These are actually excerpts, it's hard to read, from the Waldron versus Huber of how not to do asset planning. My father has some assets that he would like to protect and shield. By the way, this is why litigation was going on, and these were in emails to the attorney. And protect a portion of Donald's assets from his creditors. He didn't have enough assets to cover all the creditors. The court overturned all the transfers, all the work that was done, and the creditors got paid. That's the bottom line. You don't want to be doing it solely for asset preservation. So it's not fraud. What's the second one say? What happens if you are in tax evasion? You get an all-expense-paid vacation at Club Fed. They will put you in jail. Avoidance is okay. Evasion is not. Transferring all the assets out of your control. Legitimately, would you transfer your personal residence to someone else? By the way, the IRS says if you do, the kids need to start paying and collecting rent from you. The kids have to pay all the expenses and bills, and the kids can evict you. Okay? Anybody put their kids on title in California to any real property? Hopefully you haven't. Because their liabilities become your liabilities. So if they're in a car accident and they don't have adequate insurance and they're entitled to any of the properties, those properties are now held hostage due to your kids' activities. Not the best thing in the world to do. If the in-law turns into the outlaw, they're going to be bringing that property into the divorce for a settlement. So again, you just don't want to do that. California doesn't use a lot of land trusts. Those are used back east. Land trusts are designed to make it harder to find out who actually owns the property. In California, in civil court or bankruptcy, there are hearings to bring you in where you're under oath, and the creditor gets to ask you all about what you have. I've been involved in some of those. If you're ever involved, don't bring a lot of cash. Don't bring the keys to a paid-off car, because they're going to take them away from you at that hearing. So again, you just need to be careful and plan ahead. It's not difficult.